Yes, I still play Wordle, but I play it in a way that makes it much harder. So there are these 4 Wordle games. There's Wordle itself, there's Dordle, which is 2 Wordles at once, there's Quordle, that's 4 Wordles at once, and there's Octordle, that's 8 Wordles at once. And the challenge that I've taken up today is to use the answer of the Wordle to start my Dordle, to use the answer of my Dordle to start my Quordle, and most importantly, use the answer of my Quordle to start my Octordle. It's probably going to be extremely hard, so let's see how I do. By the way, if you're watching it on some other day, you can give this challenge a shot yourself after watching this video. So let's get started with Wordle. Just to make it interesting, I looked up which celebrities have their birthday today, and it turns out that Snoop Dogg and Emma Stone have their birthdays. So I'm gonna start with the words Snoop and the word Stone, and this is what we get. Okay, so there's N and E in the word. So now I'm going to place the E and the N somewhere different and use some of the more common letters. Of the common consonants, I think L and R are the most common of the remaining ones. And I want to use some vowels, so maybe the word liner comes to mind. So it places N in a different place, it tests L and R, it places E in a different place, and it tests a new vowel I. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so we've placed N in the right place and we don't know where E is or where I is, but we know that I exists in the word. So looking at the structure of the word, E is not at the 3rd, 4th or the 5th place. It's unlikely that it's at the beginning of the word, so it's most likely at the 2nd place. If E is in the 2nd place or in the 1st place, I doesn't seem to be in the 1st place at all, because a word starting with IE I think doesn't exist. And also I at the end of the word is quite rare, so most likely the word is something like something ENI something. The only word that comes to mind is the word denim, so let's try that and hope that it works. And it was denim. Okay, so that was simple enough. So now we move to Dordle, and as per the challenge, we have to start with the solution of Wordle. So that's the word denim. Now we have E in the first word and D in the second word. Now this is where it slowly starts to get slightly more difficult than your usual Dordle, because now we cannot rely on a fixed set of words to begin your Dordle. So of the vowels that are unused yet, there's O, U and A, and there's also Y if you consider that a vowel. So maybe the plan for now is to guess 2 more words, each of which contain 2 of these vowels, and 3 new common consonants each, so that we can rule out as many letters as possible. So of the vowels, I think O and U can go together and A and Y can go together. So maybe something like P-O-U-C-H, pouch works. And for A and Y together, I think the word flaky comes to mind, that uses a few more newer consonants. Okay, so this seems to be a good start. And the second word, we have 4 letters already. I think S, T and R are extremely common consonants that we have not used so far. So something like straw would probably be a good next guess. Although we know the position of A in the first one and we know it doesn't exist in the second one. So I think instead of straw, I'm gonna do the word strew and hope that E is at the 4th place in the first word. Okay, but we at least rule out something new. So now in the second word, we already have all 4 letters. O and Y are in the correct place. So the word has to be howdy, because that's all I can think of right now. Okay, so it was howdy. So we have 2 more guesses to get the first word, although it should probably take us just 1 more. Now E is not a very common letter at the beginning of the word, so almost definitely E would be at the end. It would be either A-R-E or A-P-E. But if we assume that there are no more vowels, as in the word doesn't start with A or an E, then in that case, P at the 2nd place doesn't seem very likely, because the only consonant that can go before a P is an S, I think, and that's already been used up. So we're probably looking at a word of this kind. So that has to be the word grape, I think. So let's try that out. And it was grape. So now we move on to Quordle, and it's gonna get substantially more difficult. As usual, we begin with the words grape and the word howdy, because those were the answers to the previous Dordle. And in some sense, we are quite lucky, because these are 10 distinct letters and most of them are quite common. Of the remaining letters, the only vowels remaining are U and I, and the common letters are S, T and L and N. So maybe what we can try to do is guess 2 more words, each with one of these vowels, so that we have 4 guesses. And in the remaining 5 guesses, we are supposed to guess these 4 words. That will give us some insurance as well. So using the common consonants, that's S, T, N and L, the word that I can think of is something like stunt or stunk maybe. So the word stunk works. And this works very well because I have already thought of a word with I, that is the word climb, that uses completely new consonants. And now in the first word, it seems we already have 4 of the letters. In the 4th place, if we assume it's a new letter, I don't think anything fits. CRIFK is not a word. So it has to be one of C, R, I and K in the fourth place, and the only one that sounds correct is CRICK, who I think was a scientist. I'm not sure if it's an English word, but let's give it a shot. And it was correct. The second word seems quite simple because we already have all 5 of the letters and 2 of them are in the correct place. So SEI doesn't make sense because H and D will not be able to fit at the back, and SD at the beginning doesn't happen in any word, so it has to be SHI, and ED is the only way the rest of it can go. The third word looks like money, although O is not in the second place and Y doesn't exist in the word, and E is not in the fourth place. Now it seems slightly difficult and I cannot have a word right on the top of my head, so maybe we'll move on to the fourth word. And again, there we have only 3 letters. So I suppose we'll have to use our wildcard word and try to rule out as many of the remaining letters as possible. Of the remaining letters, I think V and F are the most common ones. I think Q, X, Z and J are so uncommon that I don't think we need to even bother testing them out. So to have F and V in a word, I think the word that comes to mind is fovea. But the issue with that is I'm not checking O at any new place or E at any new place, and there's no A in any of the words, so maybe this is not the best guess. Another word that comes to mind is fever, which at least checks E in one new place, so maybe this is the way to go. Let's not waste time and go ahead with this. Okay, so this actually gave us a lot of information, especially in the second word there are 2 E's. That's good to know. So that gives us all 5 letters, so this word has to be venue, I think. That's all that comes to mind. And okay, so VEN is also the beginning of the third word, which is good for us in the Quordle, but it's gonna be pain when it comes to the Octordle because we are gonna have to start with 2 words that have VEN at the beginning. So that's a lot of wasted information. But well, it is what it is. So the third word looks like it is venom, and we get it all. And now we finally come to the boss level. So we have 13 guesses in this one and we have to guess 8 words. The issue is with those 5 extra guesses, we are already going to be filling 4 of them because those 4 are going to be the answers of the Quordle. So in this case, it's crick, shide, venom, and venue. So let's just have a look at all the 8 hints that we have so far. So in the first word, we have E and N both in the wrong place. In the second one, we have S and K in the correct place, and we technically also have E in the correct place. So maybe that will be helpful. In the third one, we only have S in the correct place, and in the fourth one, we have R in the correct place, O and N in the wrong place. The fourth one also seems interesting because we have 4 of the letters, and in the sixth one, we have 2 of the letters both in the wrong place. And finally, in the 7th and the 8th ones, we once again have in the 7th one 4 letters, and in the 8th one we have 3 letters. Now let's take a look at the remaining letters on our keyboard. So of the common vowels, of course there's A that's remaining, and there's Y if you count that to be a vowel. And of the common consonants, I think there's P, L, T, right, T is also quite common. So what I'm thinking of doing is guessing the word platy, P-L-A-T-Y. The issue with that is after we guess the word platy, every single guess that we make has to be one of the 8 words. So let's just try to see if we can solve any of the words without guessing the word platy. So let's have a look at the second word first because that seems to be quite easy. We have 3 letters, all 3 of them in the correct place. The word has to be something of the form S something, E something, K. Also, we know that the word does not end with CK, which makes it very easy. So one of the words that comes to mind is the word sleek, S-L-E-E-K. But the problem with sleek is when I type sleek, the E in the 4th place cannot exist there simply because we already tried that. So the word is something else. So let's consider the letters that can come at the 4th place. Letters that can follow an E and be before a K, but not a C and not another E. If we assume that it's not a vowel, then the only ones that come to mind are L and S. Because words can end in LK, like talk or stock, and in SK, like in desk. The problem with both of those is that I don't know if any word that starts with an S and ends with those things with an E in the 3rd place. For example, when we look at stock or talk or bok or gawk, all of them have ALK at the end. I cannot think of any word that ends in ELK except the word ELK itself. Now for a word to end in ESK, the only word I can think of is desk. and that's all I think. So almost definitely the word ends in EAK, and that already narrows down to very few possibilities. So it can be steak or it can be speak. So it's either speak or steak. Let's move downwards. Now in the fifth word we have H, I and D. Now there being an I in the last place right after a C is quite unlikely, which means I is either the first or the second place. Also, if I is at the first place, it seems unlikely that the remaining four are consonants, so they have to either have an A or a Y. So something like itchy can be possible, although C is in the fourth place, not the third place. And that makes it quite interesting, because if I is at the first place and C is at the fourth place, I really doubt that the second and the third place would be consonants in those cases. So there has to be an A somewhere in the second or the third place, and I something AC, a word like this doesn't really make sense. And to top it all off, we have both of the missing letters, it's D and H. So IDACH, IDAC, I don't think that's a word. What that means is the word that we're looking for is something I something C something. Now let's see where D can be in these missing places. So D cannot be at the last place because we already tried that. For D to be at the third place, to have a word that has IDC in the middle seems extremely unlikely as well, which means it has to be DI something C something. In fact, DI something CH, because DIHC seems unlikely as well. And the only word that I can think of that is of this form is the word ditch, DITCH. So I think I'm gonna make the guess. Okay, so we got that one. Now I think we'll be able to resolve between speak and steak. And there we go. We have a T in the word, which means that this word has to be steak and not speak. And that was good. So now let's see what new information we have got with these two words included. So in the first word we have E and A in the correct place. In the third word we have a new letter that's A. In the fourth word we have R, N and O. We found nothing new in the sixth one either, except the fact that H is not at the last place. Word number 7 seems quite interesting though, because we have D and R at the beginning, and we know that there is an O and an N somewhere in there. Now if a word starts with DR, I think the third letter has to be a vowel. It's either an O or a Y, because we checked all of the other vowels. Now if it is Y, the word will have to be DRYNO, which is not a word, which means it has to be DRO, either N something or something N. To have DRO something N, the only word that I can think of is the word drown, I guess. I don't know, is DROON a word? It is not. So that means it has to be drown. Let me check if drong is a word. Drong is not a word. So the word is either drony or the word is drown. And let's look at the 8th word. So we used 5 of the vowels, and we know for a fact that in the 4th place there's no vowel. Something like MANOR, although that has O in the 4th place. So let's go all the way to the top. Just make sure we have not missed anything. So it seems like we haven't. So now what we can do is we can use our wildcard word, because we have 7 guesses remaining and 6 words to be guessed. So we can try to guess a word that uses as many of the remaining consonants as possible. Now I definitely want to use the Y and the L for sure. So the word that I can think of is maybe the word bylaw, BYLAW. That uses 4 new letters and it checks A again, although I mean that doesn't give us anything, but I think 4 new letters is a good word to guess at this point in the game. So let's go ahead with that, and let's check if it gave us something interesting in any of the words that are remaining. So we have a W in the 4th word, and we have a W in the 7th word, so that means this word is drown. So that helps us. Okay, so the 4th word is also ending in ROWN, and it's not brown because we checked we checked B. It's not drown because we checked D as well. It's not crown either. Okay, so it's either frown or groan. Okay, so in the first word we have EAN at the end, and if we have L at the beginning, L something EAN, I cannot really think of a word that goes like this, because there has to be a consonant before EA. There cannot really be a consonant after L unless it's a double L maybe. What that tells me is it's a word like something LEAN, which is most likely green. That's the only word of the remaining letters that I can think of. And that helps us figure out whether the next word is going to be frown or groan. And there's no G in this word, which means this has to be frown. Okay, there we go. And now we have 3 words remaining and 3 guesses remaining. So let's have a look at the third word. It starts with S and has L in the third place. Now it can be SPL or SCL, but if it were 3 consonants, then the fourth place would have to be a vowel. But it looks like the fourth place is not a vowel because the only vowel that is in the word is an A, and it is not in the fourth place as we have checked 3 times now. So the word has to start with SAL, and now the next letter has to be a consonant. So it can be SALL, but I don't think there's a 5-letter word that starts with SALL and it's not Sally. There was this Dragon Ball Z character SALZA, but I don't think that's a word. Okay, so the only word that comes to mind is the word salsa. Has to be that, right? Let me just double check. Pretty confident that's the only word that fits, so I'm gonna go with salsa. And that was it. So now we have word number 6 and word number 8 to do. I think we'll be much better off in word number 8 because we have a lot more information now. And right off the bat, I think it looks like mango. In fact, the only 2 words that are possible are OANMG, which is not a word, so it has to be mango. And there we go. So we have to guess the 6th word in this guess itself. Let's see how we do. So there's an O, an H and L in the third place and a Y. So we have 4 of the letters, although we could have a repeat as well. There could be a double O or a double L. So let's think about where H can be. It cannot be in the third place because that's where L is, and we check the 2nd and the 5th place, which means it's either in the 1st place or the 4th place. LH in a word, something that goes like LH something. I don't think such a letter formation exists, which makes me think the word starts with H, then there's a vowel most likely, and L, and Y is typically at the end, but oh right, but Y is not in the 2nd place, so the vowel has to be O over here, so it has to be HOL. And now if Y was at the 4th place, I don't think there's a word that goes like HOLY something, which means it has to be HOL something Y, and the only word that I can think of is holly. And fingers crossed, let's go for it, and we win. Okay, so that was quite a difficult challenge. If you're watching it on some day after the 20th of October, you can give it a shot yourself and let me know how well you do in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please subscribe. I'll see you next time.